Durkin with We Are Change CT out here in Dallas, Texas. We're here with Kevin Gallagher, the director of Free Barrett Brown. Kevin, with the sentencing happening yesterday, January 22nd, just first starting off your reaction to the sentencing and just the process from yesterday with the judge.
This judge, Sam Lindsay, did not get this decision right. I personally was shocked, disappointed, angered by what happened in that courtroom yesterday as the judge proceeded to reject all of the defense's objections to the sentencing enhancements which the government was proposing based on, trafficking and stolen credit card information, and even the arguments about the mitigating factors concerning Brown's mental state when he made the videos. That didn't mean anything to this judge. And the judge rejected the idea that he was chilling the activity, the First Amendment expressions of journalists. When, I don't understand how he can say that when every major press freedom group in the country is saying that he's doing exactly that. So it was disappointing. He got a greater sentence than we had hoped for sure.
And then from the last hearing, we were both there, December 16th, the prosecution decided to drop 500 pages of evidence that was mentioned at the last hearing instead of a sentencing hearing, which was supposed to be then and then delayed again up until yesterday. Give us a take on that and what really brought that to the table with the prosecution's level to bring all that evidence deciding at the sentencing hearing.
Yeah, that was another surprising tactic, really, that illustrates the government's desperation to just prolong this process and make Brown wait even longer for his sentence. I mean, I think that's the conventional way that people are interpreting what happened there. I don't buy into the idea that those exhibits, those 500 pages of chat logs and emails were actually relevant and were going to help the judge make his ruling. In fact, the judge said that he wasn't going to consider most of the evidence that was presented because it was just irrelevant. So it was ridiculous.
And now going back to the sentencing yesterday, what took place, the prosecution, with the context of the link, go into that and how the government's argument on basically holding ground on that, standing ground on the idea of the link and sharing it. Just give us a take on that and the whole context of basically what their argument was on the link aspects of Barrett's case.
Well, I don't even think that I can effectively make the argument that the government was making about this, that he by posting this link, he was trafficking in stolen information. In fact, they can't prove that any specific fraudulent charges were caused by Brown's specific sharing of the link. So I think that's sketchy. And, the fact that the judge ruled in their favor on that, I think that's indicative of a bigger thing that's happening with the judiciary in general, which is just judges not understanding technology and, issues, anything involving computing. And in particular, I think they're being influenced by this hacker hysteria and fear, that's being drummed up around Obama's most recent cybersecurity proposals.
The interesting thing was, you mentioned it with the judge and the hacker hysteria that you talked about. One of the quotes that really stuck out with me being in there was the idea that saying that this aspect won't have a chilling effect on journalists, on the First Amendment, not just also journalists, but anybody in general sharing a link. It really shows the ignorance of the judge in that aspect, not with just hacking, but also the idea of this won't have an effect on anyone at all.
Yeah, I know. He seemingly has not been paying attention to what the public sentiment has been, even to what the defense's arguments have been. He has just bought into the government's lies, which, if they repeat long enough, they become true. And, it's just unfortunate that this judge doesn't really get it.
And also the interesting thing was, including with the charges for 63 months in jail, was the $890,000 for the restitution. What, if you could give any take, I don't think we're still perplexed on that. How did that figure come about in that case?
Well, supposedly when there's damages and a hack is performed, this assessment's done by a third party, and they're supposed to verify that there's actual damages and fraud that occurred. In practice, it's extremely overstated. the idea that Brown would have to pay restitution was nothing new, because in the second indictment, when he was originally charged with identity theft and fraud, that was a factor, the damages caused to Stratfor. But this figure is appalling. It's in some ways it's even worse than the actual sentence. The fact that he'd be an indentured servant to Stratfor. Another interesting thing is that he was ordered to pay $30,000 to the law firm Puckett and Farage, which does not even exist as a legal entity anymore. So I don't know where that money is going to go.
And also the interesting thing was, after the sentencing, Barrett posted a really hilarious statement, if anybody hasn't read, as an employer for the prison industrial complex and all that. What, for this case in general, for Free Barrett and all of that, where does it go from here after this to keep raising awareness about these issues and how much it really implicates not just journalists, but just press freedom in general, or everybody for that matter, of the free flow of information and transparency on the internet?
Absolutely. Well, you know, Barrett Brown himself is going to continue to write and speak out and talk about his case. I'm going to continue to advocate for him, and I think there's a lot that people can do in terms of jail support, just making sure he has books to read, making sure he's receiving letters, that he's aware that people are supporting him, and that the case and the issues that were raised by it are still being discussed in the media and in the public. And, you know, we'll do that until he's actually freed. Me personally, I am going to try at the same time to transition from what I've been doing to protect Brown to protecting the wider community of journalists through my work at Freedom of the Press Foundation. So I look forward to that as well.
So I definitely encourage everyone to check out his work, Kevin's work. He's done an amazing job raising awareness about this case. Where could people find more info if they need to? Links, all of that for Barrett's case and all the work that you've been doing.
The best place is probably Twitter at freebarrett_, and also our website, freebarrettbrown.org, and so on. So Barrett was covering the private intelligence contractors and things like that. He had a group called Project PM, whose role was basically to search through the emails that were pilfered from H.B. Gary and Stratfor to find things of journalistic import. So he was really working on
There's this pop culture idea of the trial in America, that the trial is the place where justice is done, where two equal sides battle it out to find the truth. And this is such bullshit. Anyone who has been in a court for any amount of time realizes